here. I don't know if the chairman of that committee has done it like in the past, but I don't know really who could answer this. But like, what has this like emergency scholarship been used for in the past, and like what really does the committee like do? Because I would like an answer legitimately. Like it says that it's going to give a report on Veterans Affairs, and I don't really know how that's essential to the student body. And also, I remember at the last meeting of the 5th Undergraduate Senate, they were talking about how like Don't Ask, Don't Tell doesn't even affect anyone in ROTC because you can't get kicked out until you go through the whole officer training program, and then you actually get into the real military. So I don't know why we have a emergency scholarship fund for these people. And also, do we know how, like I was looking everywhere actually, and I couldn't find out how many people are even in ROTC at AU, and how many people would legitimately be affected by this scholarship. And I don't know, it just seems very specific for a lot of cases that I don't really think are on the forefront of any of our constituents' minds. So, yeah, basically I just wanted to open this up to debate.
Mr. Asanoski, 12 points, guys.
With your permission, Mr. Speaker, I would like to address the body from the dais at the front of the room.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Speaker, I ask the gentleman's consent that Mr. Atanasio be allowed to speak until such time as he has finished his prepared remarks.
Second. Are there any objections to Mr. Atanasio finishing his prepared comments?
Point of parliamentary query.
Yes, sir.
Is this, Mr. Speaker, is this basically the same as suspending the rules on?
Yes, sir. Correct. It would be a suspension of a specific line of rules and quorum which sets the speaker's time. Are there any objections? Seeing none, sir. You got the floor.
Good afternoon. I address you today as the chairman of the Committee for the Review of University Military Policy. It's a long name, I know. We affectionately refer to it as CRUMP. Now, a lot of people have heard about this committee, but they really don't know what it is. They don't understand what it's doing. So, allow me to tell you all about it. ROTC issues have been taken up by the Undergraduate Senate time and again. Resolutions and bills have been passed calling for all manners of things, and almost all of them have been passed by unanimous consent. But every time the administration has said, you need to be more specific. You need to tell us more. Similarly, Don't Ask, Don't Tell is an issue that has inflamed passions in this body and on this campus numerous times, and the 4th Senate created a committee to establish a Don't Ask, Don't Tell Emergency Scholarship Fund. The committee was told to create a proposal for a scholarship for AU students who lost their scholarship provided by ROTC because they were discharged under Don't Ask, Don't Tell so that they could continue their education here at AU. That committee was reestablished in the beginning of the 5th Senate, and I was assigned to be one of its members. The committee met occasionally, but a series of resignations decimated its membership until the chairman stopped calling meetings, and eventually he too resigned from the Senate. When the time came to name a new chairman, I was selected. After becoming chairman, I was approached by someone in one of my classes, a freshman cadet in the Army ROTC. He said that he knew I was in student government, and he asked me for my help. He explained to me policies AU has that make his life more difficult on a daily basis, for no other reason than the fact that he is in ROTC. He asked me, he begged me to help him, and I told him I promised him that I would. And I did. I began asking questions, talking to older senators, and delving into the archives of the student government. Here is what I discovered. AU's ROTC cadets were cast from this university over 30 years ago because of the war in Vietnam. The policies that AU adopted during the Vietnam War make the lives of AU's cadets more difficult on literally a daily basis. Every morning, because they are not allowed to use any of AU's athletic facilities, AU cadets have to drive down to Georgetown at 5:30 in the morning. Because ROTC cannot host its military science courses here, some cadets are forced to commute as far away as Catholic University to go to their classes. Not only that, but despite the fact that AU forces cadets to travel so far off campus on a daily basis, it also forbids them from using the autovans, a service provided to every single student of American University. I could go on much longer about the difficulties ROTC cadets experience every day, but it suffices to say that it has been this way for 30 years. Then there are AU's veterans. AU's veterans deal with the United States Department of Veterans Affairs, and because of that, they constantly deal with late tuition assistance payments, which lead to stops on their accounts and a level of bureaucracy that is nearly impossible to navigate on alone. There are also a number of issues that veterans deal with that the student government can advocate and address, and my committee looks forward to working with our new Director of Military Affairs to create a proposal on that topic. And finally, there is a relic from Senate's past, the Don't Ask, Don't Tell Emergency Scholarship Fund. This fund would help support students who have lost their ROTC scholarships because they were discharged under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, who may otherwise be forced to drop out of school because of financial difficulties. Now, in the course of my research, I have discovered that, contrary to some assertions, and it depends on who you ask, but the idea that ROTC cannot affect AU students while they are students here is patently false. My committee will investigate whether such a scholarship fund is feasible, and if so, construct a proposal for it. As I discovered all of this, I became certain the Senate could and must address these issues once and for all. If the administration wanted us to be more specific, then the Senate would create a proposal so specific and so detailed that it was literally impossible to accuse it of being vague. And I knew that it would require a group of committed senators to do so. I knew it could be my committee. There have been whispers that this committee is a wild waste of the Senate's time and resources. Let me assure you, every single one of my members is there because they care about this issue and because they want to be involved, not because anyone has told them that they have to. So I approached the newly elected Speaker, Mr. Reith, and begged him to charge me to do this, to gather a committee that would do everything in its power to solve these problems that have plagued the Senate, the student government, and AU for years. He did so enthusiastically, and I owe him so much thanks for supporting our efforts. That is the origin of Crump, my baby. Now let me tell you about the work this committee has done since its creation. Over the past summer, when all other functions of the Senate came to a halt, my committee worked. We gathered information. We gathered the names and contacts of dozens of administrators at AU and even some from other universities. We prepared, and when we came back to school, the Committee for the Review of University Military Policy hit the ground at a sprint. Now, since most of you are new senators, you've never been involved with the Senate committees, so you're not familiar with the processes. Most standing committees meet just once a week, and usually only if there is legislation before the committee. So some weeks a committee might not meet at all. Allow me to put this in perspective for you. In the 5 weeks of the 5th Senate this semester, the 3 standing committees of the Senate met exactly 0 times. On the other hand, in the 5 weeks of the 5th Senate this semester, the Committee for the Review of University Military